Welcome back to the Chrissy B Show, everyone. Now, before the break, I asked you if the number of children with special needs has increased or decreased from the year before. The answer is that the number decreased for of around 1%. Well, the reason we're discussing special needs in education on the show today is because of our very special guest, Solly Lazarus, who's been doing some incredible work. And we've been busy treating Solly to a makeover because she deserves it. And here's a photo of her before. And here she is now, looking absolutely lovely. And as we say, we are enhancing the natural beauty of our guests, right?
Thank you.
So how are you, Solly?
I'm very good, thank
It's
you.
lovely to have you on today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Brilliant. So you actually have your own experience with special needs. Can you tell us about that?
I do. So first of all, I'm a qualified teacher. And when I started my career sort of 30 or so years ago, I had a natural affinity with the naughty boys in the class. I just liked the children who were a bit more challenging. And then lo and behold, my son came along and eventually he was diagnosed with ADHD. Okay. So my sort of two lives collided. Yeah. So the thing I was naturally quite talented and good at in the classroom sort of came to fruition at home as well, because I had to deal with all the issues we had with my son at home, as well as managing it in the classroom.
Can you tell us about some of those issues, and what is it that you went through and the challenges that you faced?
So with my son, so the three things with ADHD is inattentive, impulsive, and incredibly hyperactive. So right from very early on, he couldn't focus on things, he couldn't attend to anything. He was like a little ball of dynamite running around the whole time. I remember going to a friend actually who was ironing, and her little girl was running in and out the ironing board, and I just said, I can't believe that she did that, because for my son, if I would never have even try to do anything like that, because it was a liability all the time. Going out was difficult, birthday parties, he had very, very few friends because of the challenges of his behaviour.
How do you deal with things like that when, for example, there aren't many friends around and stuff? Because it must be difficult to
It was very, very tough. For me, it was quite lonely, because at school I was constantly being called in just to have a little chat. There was constant problems. I felt very isolated because the other children would all come out laughing and joking in little groups, and then he'd come out sort of all dragging his bag behind him. His shirt would be out. He would have lost his book bag, he would have lost his tie, his PE kit, so he was very, very disorganised, and he didn't gel particularly with that particular group of friends. So it was a very difficult time.
But did the school know though about the ADHD?
Yeah,
they just didn't know how to
They weren't equipped, really. There were some fantastic staff who did understand, but generally, I'm talking many years ago, because he's now 29. Yeah. At that time, it was just a question of him being naughty, spinning around in assembly and picking things off a display. Whereas now, I know from work I'm doing in schools, there's loads of things you can do to work on a child's self-esteem, and there's just a wealth of things we can do. But back when my son was in school, he was just labelled as naughty, and unfortunately his emotional health suffered, because if you're continually told you're naughty and the work is not presenting in a way that he can do it, so that from the academic point of view it was a challenge as well. Socially it was very difficult for him. The whole thing altogether is a melting pot of things not going well.
But thank goodness you're actually doing something about this now to help other parents, because you've been through it, you've experienced it, you know how lonely, how painful it can be at times.
Yes.
So tell us what you've been doing.
So I am an assistant Senko. I work in a large primary school. And November 2015, I just decided, alongside that, I wanted to set up my own consultancy, just supporting families, because it is really, really lonely. You know, as a parent, it's so hard to, it's almost a grieving process, because you have to suddenly realise that the path you thought your child would go along it's not going to happen. They're not going to have usual relationships. The job situation might not be what you dreamed and imagined. Will they be able to live independently, get married? You know, so it is a grieving process. I've got an amazing supportive husband, and we do these. You know, we work on my son and his difficulties together. But there are not so many lucky people who have got a very supportive partner.
Actually, something like this could drive people apart.
Completely drives people apart. Actually, today, one of the things I do is I support parents with a consultation. But the other thing, which I love, is I have a support group, and we meet on a monthly basis. And we actually had one this morning, and that was the kind of thing we were talking about, just how to make the rest of the family understand, and how to get your partner to understand. Because within a home, you can have one person shouting to do something one way and one person shouting to do it another way, and all that happens is there's conflict, and then the child's in the middle pulling strings from both sides, and the whole thing's a mess.
I can imagine with siblings as well, it must be quite difficult, because...
Yeah, siblings is one of the big things that, because I've got a daughter as well, and it affects the dynamics of the whole family. Your attention is on your child who has got additional needs, quite rightly, because you have to give you know, a lot of your attention, because you're putting out fires a lot of the time. And so I am trying to be very mindful of the siblings, because it is very difficult for them.
So it's amazing that you're actually running that support group. So important.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
You've also done something else, haven't you? Because you've actually written a book called 5 Reasons Why Most Schools Fail Your Child with Special Needs.
Yes.
So obviously, you know, we can't go into too much detail, but can you briefly tell us the 5 reasons, and if people want to know more, they can read?
Yeah, that's fine. I think it's really important to say it's most schools. It's not every school. There are some amazing teachers, amazing practices going on. But on the whole, our special children are being failed. The 5 reasons, very quickly, is that this is the only institution where we lump peer groups together. Everywhere else of different ages, we all mingle and mix. In that funny old mix, our special children have to survive and compete with children of exactly their same age. I also feel that creativity is stifled, because while schools are focusing really heavily on the curriculum, our special children often are the dancers and the musicians and the jugglers and the comedians, and is school the right environment to show off those talents, and then for them to raise their self-esteem because they're succeeding at something?
That's so important, that one, isn't it?
It's so important, because we're so fixed on learning times tables, but you know,
what's the point
what
if
is
that's
the
not
point?
What you're
yes,
great at?
Exactly. And you know, you can get your phone and find out the timetable. You know, but if you can juggle,
it's
you
so
know,
true. Why
yes,
do you still do
I
that?
know. So one of my main things is about emotional health, and I just think unless we find the thing that our children can succeed at, and push that creativity, and we are damaging a child's emotional health. There's so many things we can do in the classroom, so many resources we can use, techniques, simple tweaks that teachers can do to make a child really, really achieve. But quite often teachers are so busy with targets and testing and phonics and reading that they just don't have time to do these simple tweaks. So the thing then that happens is our lovely, special, beautiful children fail time and time again. I also say that targets do matter too much. I mean, year 6 to be completely taken up with SATs is crazy to me. It just doesn't make sense. It's bonkers. And then finally, I say that there is a real world out there. You know, our children have amazing skills. We want to develop entrepreneurs and free thinkers and innovators. And do our schools provide for those kind of that atmosphere, or are we just making little automatons, you know, that are good at academic things but can't think and can't invent, you know, and that's what we want. We need our system is a Victorian system based on learning things that the Victorians needed, and our world's moving forward, and I'm not sure our system suits, well, certainly it doesn't suit our special children, but I'm not sure it suits any child anymore. I think we need to move forward and think of a different way of educating. But that's not to say there aren't many brilliant teachers. There are some brilliant schools. I just think we need to think about the whole system a little bit differently.
Well, it's certainly food for thought. Thank you so much, Solly, for coming on to speak to us about all of this.
It's a pleasure. I mean, it's so much my passion. I really think that just with a few simple tweaks and maybe changing the whole system, it will just benefit our beautiful special children, but maybe it will benefit all children. So
yeah, definitely. Thank you.
It's my pleasure.
And all the best for the future, because I know you're going to do much more.
Yeah, I am. I've got loads of plans in the pipeline.
Okay.
Thank you.
So keep in touch, then you can let us know, come on again and tell us about the updates.
I certainly will. Thank you for inviting me.